Hello, I am here with much shorter hair and an actual tablecloth this time. So no more screen glare from the table. It's been a week. How you guys doing? Let's see. So we're here to talk about questions, comments, and concerns regarding Your Hero Academia, fans fiction of My Hero Academia, which is totally awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't know what you're doing here, but you should go watch it. Let's see. The reviews are mostly concerning the latest chapter, which was training leading up to the U.S. Sports Festival, as well as the beginning of the race. So what do we got?
All right. So we have one really, really long review to start. So Silver 4700.
He's read quite a few of my stories. So thanks for coming over to this one, man. Glad to see you.
Cool. So hey, Mataris, it's been a while. I really wanted to read the story for the longest time, but I wasn't able to, mainly because I was worried I'd be spoiled for My Hero Academia. And I was only halfway through season 2. But now I've finally started watching again after ages, and I'm halfway through season 3. So now I can finally read your story. This is going to be a big review of the story up to chapter 9. So, first off, I'm impressed by how you're handling Hikari's quirk. Something that I personally feel is difficult when making a power is making sure it's not too overpowered by making an equal drawback. The frontal cortex idea and losing inhibitors or inhibitions, which could lead to death, is really clever. Gotta give it to you. Hikari himself is handled well, and I can definitely relate to the entire wanting to do his best, but still shies away from attention personality.
Okay, cool.
Nice. All right. I'm so glad that somebody else relates. All right, cool. Just a nitpick by me. And I understand that Hikari was helping Deku with One For All, but I really enjoyed how he outsmarted Aizawa with the baseball throw and his finger. I'm aware that making things exactly as the original story is boring and impractical and for AU.
Alternate universe.
Alternate universe. But the controlled jump didn't really have the same impact for me. Again, that's more of a personal nitpick. Yeah, and I have to agree. Like, there's some moments with the original that are just so powerful. Because the original is so good that it's like, you know, you want to root for Deku because he's the underdog and things are so much harder for him. And so I think in some ways his
that is my, that's like my personal, for lack of a better term, disappointment with my work in this is that Deku doesn't get quite as much of a chance to stand out because he has this much help from a friend. But, you know, with the character I made and with the abilities he's possessed and his disposition toward other people, this was just the result that came about. I didn't really try to go out of my way to be like, hey, let's give Deku a helping hand because he really deserves it, even though he does. That's just how it happened.
Yeah, so
introducing this character. And again, I've said it several times before in other videos, but every time a new reviewer comes in, I try to reiterate, this isn't Deku's story. This is not the story of how Deku became the greatest hero in the world. This is the story of Kurai's death and the events leading up to it.
So it's,
the narrative does change a little bit.
I definitely agree, though, that there are some points where, you want Midoriya to shine and he doesn't shine quite as much. But that's why we have the anime. It's wonderful. It is one of my favorites.
No matter what I do with this fan fiction, you will always have the original. I can't touch that. I don't own My Hero Academia, as much as I wish that were the case sometimes, because it's such a good story, man.
Alright. So, next. Love the fact that you're having Class 1A interact more. I felt there just wasn't enough of that in the show, but maybe that's just me.
You'll like Season 4.
Yeah. Especially loved the karaoke bit. And the time of writing this, I have yet to see the audio chapter, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. There are times where fights are hard for me to read in stories, either because they're too complicated or boring to read. Anyway. But I absolutely loved the hero/villain bomb test. I've always loved smart fights instead of just raw power, and this was definitely a good example of that. It didn't hurt that role-playing as the villain is a fun attribute to read.
I think that's one of the things that's very endearing about My Hero Academia in the first place is they don't just overpower every obstacle that comes at them, kind of like, in Dragon Ball Z. And Dragon Ball Z, that's the trope. That's what made it big, and that's what drew people to it. And that's all well and good. but I think My Hero Academia is a breath of fresh air in terms of like, thinking ahead of your opponents.
Yeah, I think. Well, in anime, one of those really big themes is overcoming the current level you're at.
Overcoming your personal limits.
Yeah. And I think that's why Dragon Ball is really popular. But this one, it's similar because
there is a lot of
they
that
have
overcoming,
limits, but
they have to be clever about it.
Yeah, it's more strategic, and I think you enjoy writing those strategic battles.
Yeah.
I also have a hard time reading battle scenes, and I complain to him all the time because he loves writing battle scenes. Mm-hmm. But I think definitely in this story, especially as it progresses, he's gotten, he's starting to get a lot better about the, really making them almost cinematic when he's reading them. So I'm excited for you guys to see what's coming up here soon, in the future, as we're brainstorming this. But anyway, yes, nice, thank you. All right, so the entire class rep chapter felt the same as the original episode. Don't get me wrong, I loved the opening and showing not only Hikari's disdain for the media, but also his admiration for his commissioner father. But it felt virtually identical. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think there was a whole lot that I could do to differentiate it, other than, Kurai sharing a backstory with Ida.
So did it seem like you still needed to include it in order for the plot to move forward?
Well, yeah, because if nothing else, it was important because of Kurai's interaction with Ida and like him being like, "Dude, you totally could have had that the representative in the representative position in the bag. Why didn't you push harder for it?" It was him showing support for his friend, and Kurai. It was to give readers a little bit more of an eye into what it looks like, what the world looks like from Hikari's eyes.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah.
Because he didn't want the job.
Yeah, because there are books, like, I have seen books where you retell the same story from a different character's perspective, and so that makes sense that chapter would be like that. Mm-hmm. All right. Not something I can really fault, though, with the overall nature of his being an alternate universe story. So, again, he's recognizing basically what we just said. So, loved the entire not date. Interesting concept, by the way. And while this has no bearing on the story, the Jedi Crusader sounds better than both Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Hail Revan! Oh my gosh.
I mean, they name dropped Revan in The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if that has any impact on you. But, yeah, I mean, like, just a real quick nitpick. I mean, The Rise of Skywalker was like, it wasn't the Last Jedi was the worst one in the trilogy, but The Rise of Skywalker was the most disappointing, if that makes sense. But I think we're all a little salty about that, so we better move on before I just plunge into that black hole.
With you and me, we'll get on a Star Wars tangent, and you guys will have.
We'll forget this was even My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. All right. Bit salty about that. Apologies. Also, I'm calling it now. As of reading Chapter 7, this hero name is going to be Kamehameha. Just saying. So, Chapter 8. It was pretty good. Really like seeing Hikari pull an abridged Kirito with the names at Nomu. Or am I looking too deep into things? I don't know.
I wasn't trying to reference that.
You might have. You tend to reference.
I mean, no, but usually when I reference stuff, I do it on purpose. I don't remember. I can't think of any quotes that I used. Okay. All right. Cool if I did. Cool if... I don't... Okay.
And he released a Kamehameha. That's pretty awesome. And I love that it took the story in a new direction while still staying true to the story. Also, the hospital scene overall was really well written. It was great, but I admittedly don't really have a lot to say or comment on it. Cool. Chapter 9. That section regarding human heart was deep. Not gonna lie. Enjoyable, but deep. Not to mention that any scene with All Might is always enjoyable. Oh yeah, and I don't think I really addressed this, but I also really liked Ashido, and I really like how you're handling her character, especially with Hikari and pairing them up. Can't wait to see where you take this. Well, that was freaking long review, and I need to get myself a cup of coffee, but the TLDR...
Too long, don't read.
Gotcha. Of this entire page is that I freaking love My Hero Academia, and I freaking love the story so far. Yay! Keep up the amazing work, as always, Mataris. Also, this has absolutely no bearing to the story whatsoever, but it's funny because every time I hear Hikari, my mind always jumps to Simple and Clean from Kingdom of Hearts, or at least Hikari as its Japanese orchestral name.
I guess that's a soundtrack in Kingdom Hearts.
Must
okay,
be. Nice.
Yeah. No, I got. One of the reasons I chose Hikari was because Trunks' theme when he fights Cell is called Hikari no Willpower, which means the light of will. Roughly translated, I suppose.
Nice. You're gonna have to go look up that song now.
I guess I am.
All right. Thanks, Silver 4700.
Is that all?
All right, that's all for.
All right, dude.
Silver.
Thanks so much for leaving all your thoughts. I love it, dude. I love long reviews.
Yes, they're fun. Yeah.
Gives us so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our usual long reviewer has been MIA, so you can jump in. All right. So, Yamajiji, this was awesome. I'm super happy Izuku has full cowling early. He'll make a great showing in the sports festival. I'm loving the friendship between Kurai and Izuku. Can't wait to see the next chapter.
Yamajiji?
Yep.
Okay, I don't think I've heard that name before.
Yeah, that's a new reader.
Dude, awesome. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for your review. And I'm glad somebody appreciates Izuku getting full cowling early. I was starting to wonder if I was just going to be getting hate for that.
Yeah.
Especially from this one.
Sorry. All right. Oldenam. Oldenom. I don't know.
Oldenam.
Oldenam.
Okay. I don't know. That's a new one. Welcome to the story.
Hi.
I'm glad to see you.
Great chapter. Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Thanks for leaving a review. Cool. All right. Majin Lightus, our buddy. All right. The start of the chapter was very cute. As to why I said Kurai would get 5th place is because he has the power and speed to get one of the top 3 places. But I do see you putting him in top 3. Also, Kurai would be holding back because of the cost/downside of using his power right now. Well, holding back or not going all out. Great chapter, mate. Blade Hero Light signing out.
You're technically right. I don't know if you caught it or not, but part of the conversation was Kurai's wearing his armor bracers, which his brother designed to apply pressure points to certain spots on his arm, which helps kind of chill him out, and which in turn keeps him from using his full powers. If he takes them off, those inhibitions are removed, and he can go all out. But yes, there is a very bad risk attached to that. So, yeah, you're right. He is to a degree holding back.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Majin Lightus. Joe Clone.
All right, another one of our regulars.
I love how thorough you thought the story out. You explained in the video how you remembered that Kurai got the highest score, so he had to give that speech. For a last-second narrative decision, that speech was well composed and very heartwarming. Nice, thanks.
Thanks, man.
All right, I can't talk. Sorry, guys. I've been teaching all day long. It's been a thing. It's been a thing. Distance learning is insane. It's mayhem. Okay, I'm broken. Sorry. I like Izuku's new confidence thanks to his new training partner. It seems to be affecting not only his combat ability, but perhaps romantic ability too. I mean, not in this story anyway, but it would be cool to dig the whole gravity seeds a little bit deeper, so to speak. Even this far into the anime and the canon versions still haven't addressed their feelings. Yes, that drives me crazy. It's so hard, but they are also those really awkward, driven people who would do that.
I mean, if it's this show has been this manga and show is being called the Naruto of its time, and I mean, hey, the Naruto movie, the last one, which kind of ties up the whole thing. Naruto gets the girl, man. So here's hoping Deku and
Aurora. Not the original.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Well, she's not the one he always wanted, but he does get.
But he gets the right girl.
Yes, he gets the right girl who I really like.
She's your Myers-Briggs, right?
She's my Myers-Briggs personality.
Yep,
yes.
Yep.
And I usually hate my Myers-Briggs personalities, but she's one of my few exceptions.
And I'm Neji, so I'm just great. I'm an a-hole. Why? Why do I always end up with the a? I'm Bakugo from the Myers-Briggs. What? Is something wrong with me?
No.
That I don't know about?
No,
that's not true. I know a lot of things that are wrong with me.
Alright. Mina is being such a cutie. I love her a lot more now. Those romantic words were like poetry bars. Aww. Alright. Awesome job, dude. Can't wait for the next one. Oh man, everyone is digging the relationship, man.
Alright. I must be doing something right.
Alright. Interesting to see the dynamic between Deku and Kurai as a transition from... Oh, sorry. Silly Kita. My bad. My brain is gone.
It's your favorite.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I love this handle. I'm like, honestly, kind of sad that I didn't think of this handle, but my handle, I like my handle, so it's fine, even though I never use it. Interesting to see the dynamic between... I'm going to start commenting on all of your stories.
No. No. No one needs to know about that. No.
Sorry, guys. We're in rare form today.
Best form.
Silly Kita.
This isn't even my final form.
Stop.
Never.
Okay, either I'm getting an asthma attack, you're making me laugh, or I got the Rona. Stop. Okay, Silly Kita. Interesting to see the dynamic between Deku and Kurai as they transition from training partners to rivals. Though, at least they seem to be keeping up a good relationship so far. As I said before, not super sold on the idea of Deku learning full cowling early on.
Why is everybody hating on that?
Because the story is so good. We want to root for the underdog. He can't be overpowered so early. Anyway, sorry. But at least he's still showing his ingenuity by the way he used it, yes, I agree, in the beginning of the race. I hope to see that trend continue. As for what placing Kurai will be in, my guess is 2nd or 3rd place, maybe 4th. The way you've set him up, he's too skilled to fall behind, unless sentimentality gets the better of him and he goes back to help Mina, or something to that effect. Sorry, I'm seriously like having a hard time breathing right now. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna have to use my inhaler in between cuts.
You okay?
We're almost there. Yeah, I still see Deku getting first, as he won the race without using One for All in the original. And now that has more control over it, I seriously doubt that he'll lose to Todoroki or Bakugo. I'm excited to see... I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a mess. I'm seriously going to have to go use my inhaler. I'm not dying, I promise. I just have issues. One more sentence. I'm excited to see how the race ends, and beyond that, the Cavalry Battle teams, if we reach that point by the next chapter. Alright, and that's it.
Alright. I don't know, is there something that I need to address? Is there something that I need to address in there, do you think?
I think that was a pretty self-explanatory one.
Okay.
I think, we already knew how they felt about full cowling. And holy cow, I need my inhaler. I'm going to go get it.
Alrighty. We'll be back in a few minutes after you guys have heard my audio chapter, Ed, which will answer hopefully most of your questions. So, back in a minute. The pressure of leading. Ah, dang. Kurai muttered as he and Midoriya came to an abrupt halt. Stretching before them was a yawning chasm, out from which sprung stone pillars of varying sizes, all connected by cables that they supposed were the way one was meant to cross over. About a kilometer or so on the other side, the course resumed its normal track. The issue was simply how to get there, as the gaps between the pillars were anywhere from 50 to 100 meters, with a drop so deep between them one could not see the bottom. Somehow I don't see many people outside the hero course getting across this, even with these ropes. Yeah, Midoriya said as he took a running start. Good thing that we've been training so hard. With a burst of green lightning, he was in the air, clearing the gap between himself and the nearest pillar in a mere second. Kurai was surprised. His friend had more guts than he had originally given him credit for, taking a literal leap of faith as he had just had. I can't let him show me up, he thought as he reinforced his limbs with his own power before taking off in pursuit of Midoriya and Todoroki, who was already more than halfway across the chasm. After all, it's not as though I came here to be his coach. First place, here I come. Putting on an extra burst of speed, he easily pulled alongside, then past Izuku, calling back, Sorry, pal, but I think I've done enough to help you. You're on your own from here on out. That's fine by me, his friend called back with a grin. I'll still beat you. Doubt it. With that, Kurai was bounding from one pillar to the next, using his muscles in addition to unleashing energon blasts behind himself whenever he touched the ground to generate explosions that launched him even further than normal. Thanks for the idea, Bakugo. No sooner than he'd formed the thought than did he hear a series of explosions that sounded like they were getting closer by the second. Speak of the devil. He had just cleared the chasm when the loudest explosion yet boomed over his head, accompanied by Bakugo shouting, Get that flashy power of yours isn't so great after all! Later, loser! With that, the temperamental blonde student shot ahead of him, nearly burning him with an explosion from his hands and causing him to stumble as he was blinded by the heat and smoke. When his vision cleared, he scowled. Bakugo had put more distance between them than he was comfortable with, and he had a feeling that Midoriya would be catching up to him soon, among other students with speed-enhancing quirks. Okay, no way I'm losing to that guy, he vowed to himself. Redoubling his speed, he ran for all he was worth after Bakugo, readying an energy bolt in each hand as he did so. He came within striking distance just before they rounded a corner, whereupon he let loose the 2 energy bolts, aiming so that they would collide just above Bakugo's head. His quirk did not allow him to make his energy bolts explode whenever he wanted to. They had to make contact with something in order for that to happen. However, after some experimentation, he had discovered that one of his blasts colliding with the other was more than enough to create the desired effect. Kaboom! An explosion bigger than he had anticipated slammed Bakugo into the ground so fast the other boy didn't even have time to yell. Then, as if that weren't strange enough, the instant that he hit the ground, another explosion tossed him up backwards, causing pink smoke to billow up from the ground. He landed in front of Kurai, winded and possibly unconscious, judging from the lack of yelling that was happening. What in the... That's when he saw the sign with the red skull on it, just before the track widened out into an open area for about a half kilometer. Landmines! He yelped, realizing they had caught what had caused the second explosion. Seriously? As he looked back down at his opponent, he realized that while he was, in fact, out cold, it was likely the triple impact had knocked him out, not the landmines themselves. Looking out at the field, he saw Todoroki picking his way carefully among the path, avoiding all the mines as swiftly as he could. They weren't too hard to spot, given how the earth had been dug up and then repacked to put them underground. The issue was that there were so many, it was difficult to manage any kind of speed while avoiding having your legs blown off. Actually, these are probably flashbangs, not actual bombs, Kurai thought with a frown as he began to pick his way across the field, leaving Bakugo where he was. He'd gone about 50 feet when he heard the sounds of people running behind him. They're closer than I'd like, not to mention Todoroki's still in front of me. Let's see if I can't slow them down. Engaging his quirk again, Kurai sent 3 blasts ahead of him, arcing them so they would land in front of Todoroki before firing a single shot himself behind. Both attacks had the immediate desired effect, causing several landmines to explode, forcing the people behind him to slow their approach as some of them charged ahead and ended up triggering more landmines, while Todoroki was taken completely by surprise, stumbling in his footing for just a fraction of a second. Which was the only mistake that Kurai needed him to make. As he stumbled, Todoroki triggered a landmine that blinded him and caused him to stumble back, creating another explosion. As he struggled to regain his footing, Kurai surged ahead, jumping forward while using his quirk to both enhance his strength and aim blasts at any spot that he predicted he would land on. He stumbled once when he missed time to blast, but he was able to recover before he wound up fumbling like his classmate. He was just about to clear the landmines when a wave of cold shot up from behind him, and his legs froze in place, stopping him in his tracks. Nice try, he heard Todoroki say just before he skated by, but it'll take more than that to stay ahead of me. And you think this is enough to stop me? Kurai shouted back. Willing his energy to flare outward, he shattered the ice imprisoning him before taking off on a run on the path that Todoroki had made, careful not to crack through and trigger any more mines. You've only bought yourself a couple of seconds! And that's all I need, came the cool reply. Kurai was about to make his own comment when something rather unexpected happened. First, there was a loud explosion at the rear of the landmine zone, too big to be a buried bomb. On instinct, both students looked back, expecting Bakugo to come at them in a fiery rage, but what they saw was nothing short of stunning. Midoriya? Kurai exclaimed in surprise as he watched his friend shoot up and out of the smoke at a speed that surprised both him and Todoroki. The boy had a big smile on his face as he landed between his classmates, shattering the ice as green energy continued to crackle along his body. Then there was another explosion that launched him forward, leaving them both in the dust with looks of intense surprise on their faces. Damn, that's what I should have been doing! Kurai thought as he and Todoroki forgot one another in their bid to catch up with the green-haired boy, the half-and-half young man still looking stunned at his classmates' new abilities. Since when has Midoriya been able to do that? He panted as he was just managing to stay ahead of Kurai with his ice. Since I taught him, Kurai answered with traces of pride in his voice. Then I suppose fortune favors him greatly, both you and all my being in his corner. Todoroki replied as the entrance gate loomed before them, causing them to take a sharp turn into its depths. But I don't rely on fortune. Too late, Kurai realized that Todoroki was dragging his hand on the side of the wall in preparation to use his quirk. Before he could properly react, a wall of ice at least a foot thick had formed between them, causing Kurai to slam into it face first, stunning him for a second. Dick move! He shouted as he shook his head to clear it. With another yell, he unleashed a beam of energy at the wall that caused it to splinter on impact. Charging forward, he already knew in his heart that he was too late. Sure enough, as he ran back into the stadium, he could hear President Mike saying, "And another one from the Hero Courses Class 1A, in third place is Kurai Hikari!" The crowd applauded his efforts, even as the others began to trickle in from behind him while he caught his breath. Looking over at Midoriya, he wasn't surprised to see his comrade standing still, almost dumbstruck at the thought that he had managed to claim victory. I'm going to need to be more careful around him during the rest of this festival. Kurai thought, though he was happy that his friend had done so well, in light of how it was once a struggle for him to use his quirk at all. Looking up into the crowd, he turned to see a set of box seats where he knew that his family was sitting. He could just barely make them out, given the distance between them, but he could see his mother and brother waving excitedly and cheering for him, while his father was no doubt looking over with his own quiet approval. As he waved back with a smile, he felt glad to know his family was there to support him that day. He turned around in time to see Ida coming in behind a couple of other students, one with long green hair and a guy that looked like he had no lips to cover his teeth. Waving him over, Kurai called out, "Hey, nice to see you made it." "If I can't even win at a race, how am I supposed to stand out as a speed-type hero?" his friend complained. "This is humiliating." "Ah, come on," Kurai laughed. "What'd you get, 5th place? 6th? That one's still pretty good." "6th, Ida nodded as he wiped sweat off his brow. "I suppose you're right. It could have been much worse." "If it makes you feel any better, I lost out to Todoroki and Midoriya," Kurai said as he jerked a thumb over his shoulder. "Yes, I expected such a showing from you and Todoroki, but I must say, Midoriya was quite the unexpected surprise," his best friend said as he looked over at their classmate. "I thought that he couldn't use his quirk without hurting himself." "We've been training together since I got out of the hospital," Kurai admitted. "A pro quo, if you will, was made. I help him figure out how to use his quirk without shredding his bones. He helps me figure out how to use my transformation without killing myself." "Seems a fair trade." Ida nodded as he adjusted his glasses while more students came staggering into the stadium. "And it explains why you were so busy most afternoons these past couple of weeks. Did you both benefit from the exchange, though?" "I'd say so," Kurai replied with a slight grin. "Damn it!" Both students gave a start of surprise when they heard Bakugo screaming as he flew into the stadium over everyone's heads, landing in a clear spot, breathing hard and growling through his teeth. Once he managed to stand, he bellowed, "Where's the bastard that blew me up?" Ida looked down at Kurai, who was just assuming an innocent air. He did, however, preempt his taller friend by saying, "Don't make eye contact." Once a certain number of students had crossed the finish line, Midnight announced that the race was over and the other students could return to the stadium on their own time. As for those that were already inside the arena, she called them over to gather in front of the podium again. Even though everyone had just been competing against one another a few minutes ago, some friend groups had clumped together, like Ida, Midoriya, Uraraka, Ashido, Asui, and Kurai. "Now then," Midnight began, brandishing her whip as she gestured toward the screen she was standing in front of. "What do we have in store for you next? A nightmare or a fantasy?" The way she asked the last part made Kurai very uncomfortable. Once again, the screen began to spin like a lottery machine, too fast for the eye to follow the individual options that were flying by, right up until the words "Cavalry Battle" appeared amid a yellow frame. "We have a classic one for you," Midnight announced. "Like the playground game?" Kurai muttered out loud. "I was never allowed to play that one." "Why not?" Midoriya asked him. "Back when I didn't have my quirk under control as well as I do now, I was a lot stronger than other kids my age," he answered flatly. "I wound up hurting some of my classmates on accident. I wasn't allowed to horse around like the others anymore, and no one really wanted to be around me since that incident." "The rules are simple," Midnight was now saying, heading off any further discussion between the two. "Each of you may form teams of anywhere between 2 and 4 people, with each person having points assigned to them based on their placing in the obstacle course." So different teams will have different point values based on the people making up the team, Uraraka commented. "Yeah, huh?" Mina grinned. Apparently Midnight heard them because she cracked her whip at them and shouted, "How about you shut up while I explain the rules?" With the students subdued, she went on to grumble. "Starting with 42nd place, the value is 5 points. From there, each spot gets an additional 5 points added onto their score. So 41st gets 10 points, 40th is worth 15, and so on until..." The scoreboard appeared on the screen as Midnight added with a wicked smile, "The person that came in first place is worth 10 million points." Everyone immediately turned to look at Midoriya, who suddenly looked as though he might pass out from that particular piece of news. "And suddenly I'm glad I didn't make first place," Kurai thought with a measure of sympathy for his friend. "If his team gets taken down, the group that did it will have just as good as won this round." "That's right," Midnight purred. "If you can take down the number 1 player, you will certainly be able to move on to the final round." After allowing herself a coy grin, she went on to say, "Each team will be given a headband based on the points they total up to. These are worn on the head." As she spoke, illustrations matching her words appeared on the screen. In this case, a picture of All Might wearing a band that read 50 on it. "You can steal the headbands of other players, and these must be worn around the neck. However, while you are allowed to use your quirks as much as you desire, you may not make another team fall over or shove them out of bounds. I'll slap you with a red card, disqualifying you." Kurai was fairly certain that it physically pained Bakugo to hear that.
If your team goes out of bounds on its own, you will also be ejected from the game, Midnight added. Other than that, do as you please. You've got 15 minutes to choose your teams, so get moving, chop chop. With a final crack of her whip, Midnight stepped aside while the countdown for 15 minutes appeared on the screen. Kurai immediately found himself swarmed by people who wanted to join up with him, which set him on edge a little. He didn't do well with crowds. It was understandable given that he would already have plenty of points himself, plus his battle skills were the subject of much admiration among the majority of the school. Pick me, Sato was saying. No way, I'm your guy, Sero interjected. You'll need my quirk. That was Jiro. I don't want to beg, but please, Aoyama whimpered. Kurai looked around before shrugging and saying, Sorry, guys, I've already got a team picked out. Ignoring his classmates' protests and cries of disbelief, Kurai went over to a grinning Mina as he asked, So how about it? Totally, she nodded. I'm glad we get a chance to work together on the same team, at least this once. Me too, he said with his own smile. But I do have one other person in mind. Tall, glasses, engines in his legs. Mina guessed. Huh. Kurai blinked. I'm surprised you aren't upset about me wanting to team up with him. Why would I be? She shrugged. Sure, he's kind of a hard case, but he's super talented and smart. Plus, he's your friend. Why wouldn't I be okay with him on our team? I don't know, Kurai realized aloud. Huh. I worry about stupid things, don't I? Uh-huh, she giggled. Mind if I ask Sue to join us? She'd make a great writer. Actually, that's a really good idea, Kurai nodded. Sure, go find her. I'll get Ida. He found his friend having just walked away from Midoriya and Uraraka, a grim set to his mouth. Hey, pal, Kurai said as he approached, catching the bespectacled boy by surprise. Looking over his shoulder, he asked, Turn down Midoriya? I thought you guys were like the golden trio of our class. Golden quartet if we include you, Ida replied with a subdued smile that gave Kurai a sinking feeling. But yes, I turned him down. I'm afraid that I won't be joining you either, old friend. Seriously? Kurai exclaimed. I haven't even made my offer yet. I know, but I'll tell you the same thing that I told Midoriya, Ida replied, his tone kind enough. You're a great friend, and I couldn't be prouder to be in the same class as you. But right now, we're rivals in this competition, aiming to claim the #1 spot for ourselves. As much as I wish it were otherwise, only one person can be the best. And since this competition has begun, I've lost to you and Midoriya both. So please, don't take this as an insult when I tell you I need to do my best to defeat the both of you. With those words, he bowed to his dumbstruck friend before walking over to join Todoroki, Yayorozu, and Kaminari. Damn, was all that the boy could think to say. That did not go the way I thought it would. He was further surprised when Mina walked up to him, saying that Asuri had chosen a different team too. Huh, he said blankly, catching the corner of his eye. With a sudden jolt, he grabbed Mina and said, We could still work with this. Huh? She squawked in alarm. He stopped in front of Midoriya and Uraraka, both of them looking more or less dejected. Hey guys, he said with a light grin. Got room on your team for two? Hey, Izuku said, immediately perking up. Are you guys sure? I mean, everyone's going to be after us because of my headband. It won't be easy. Pfft, this competition isn't going to be easy no matter what team we're on, Mina said dismissively. At this point, we're better off working with friends that we know what we're all about. Plus, it's not like any of our quirks are something to scoff at. We can work with this. Yeah, Uraraka said excitedly. I'd like to work with you guys too. I think we've got a pretty solid team here, Kurai added. I think I might even have something in the way of a formation too. Hold it right there, shouted a high-pitched girl's voice, the owner sounding a little unhinged. I saw him first. They all turned to see a girl with pink hair and binoculars approaching them on some kind of hover boots. Then she thrust her face invasively close to Midoriya and shouted, Team up with me for person in first place! She was also decked out in an assortment of other items that led Kurai to believe she must have been from the support course. Only they carried around that many gadgets. Midoriya stammered, unsure of how to respond to her powerful personality. Hey, why do you think you just get to come up and join up? Mina demanded. In case you hadn't noticed, we got here first, not you. So go find another team. No way, the girl shouted back. Everyone's going to be watching the guy that came in first place, and I want to use that to my advantage. If he starts wearing my inventions, my beautiful babies are sure to be noticed by hero support companies. It's a sure way for me to win. Did you miss the part where my friend said to go find another team? Kurai said with a frown. We're full. Please, go away. Not happening. The girl shot back, her eyes still fixed on a very nervous Midoriya. I'm Mei Hatsume, and I'll be joining your team, person in first place. Thanks for the offer, but I can't just abandon my friends, he replied hesitantly. I'm sure there's another team you could join that'll help you get noticed. Not as fast as I'm with you, she insisted, the word no apparently not registering in her head. Let's ditch these extras. Extras? Mina Uraraka exclaimed, furious with the new girl. Man, she and Bakugo would get along great, Kurai commented. Her last comment only seemed to harden Midoriya's resolve. The answer is no, he said more firmly now. I can understand you wanting to join up with me, but I won't be partnering up with anyone who thinks that their comrades are unnecessary. Sorry, Hatsume, but you're gonna have to find another team to join. Fine, the girl said as she turned away on her heel and hovered away. But I'll bet people will still want to hire me if my tech takes down the guy at the top. And with that, she was off, laughing the whole way. That was weird, Kurai muttered. Turning back to Midoriya, he added, Thanks, by the way, for sticking up for us. No problem, the boy said as he read, noticing that Uraraka and Mina were smiling at him appreciatively. Anyways, we should strategize. They walked off the area where the cavalry battle would take place, almost up against the wall and away from other students as to have some privacy. Okay, I've got a plan too, the green-haired boy said once they all sat down together. Would you like to go first, though? He asked Kurai. Sure, he replied with a sharp nod. I'm thinking that if we have Uraraka as the lead, with me as the rider, your full Cowling, and Mina's acid combined will make us pretty mobile. Not to mention that people aren't going to want to chase after us so fast if it means stepping in acid, which means giving us breathing room. Uraraka's zero gravity would also mean she could pull us along with a lot less effort. Not to mention I can keep people at a distance with Energon blasts, and whack them with my fists if they get too close for comfort. Actually, that's pretty close to what I thought up, with one major difference, Midoriya said excitedly. In my version of the plan, we have Uraraka and me in the back, with Ashido up front. If she uses an acid that isn't super corrosive, we can use it to slide around a lot faster with me and Uraraka doing the pushing from the rear, since everyone but her would be weightless. I think you as the rider is the safest bet, though, since you would be the best at keeping people back, so long as we don't make anyone fall over. That shouldn't be too hard, Kurai nodded as he looked down at his gauntlets. These have been doing a good job on limiting my power thus far, so I have perfect control over my faculties. The only issue I had today was when I blasted Bakugo, and the explosion was way bigger than I thought it would be. It's almost like he blasted himself somehow. Oh, that makes sense, Midoriya replied, surprising his classmate. Seeing that a further explanation was required, he added, Bakugo's quirk works like nitroglycerin that's secreted from his palms, which he can then blow up. It seems to me like when you hit him, you must have made more of the stuff ignite than he meant to, which is why the blast would have been so much bigger than you expected. Huh. Good to know. Kurai nodded, filing the information away for later use. For now, though, we need to decide on a game plan. I'm fine either way, but to me it's a question of speed versus stability. How so? Mina asked. Think about it, Kurai replied patiently. If you're the lead horse with Midoriya and Uraraka pushing, we'd absolutely be faster for it. However, if the two of them don't exert the same amount of force, we could all end up flat in our faces if Midoriya pushed harder than Uraraka with his quirk. On the other hand, with my idea, we won't be nearly as fast, but with her having to pull us along even if we're weightless. We could only move as fast as she could run. No offense. He added the last part with an apologetic bow toward his classmate. No problem, she said, a thoughtful look on her face. You're right, we do need to think about this carefully. We can't afford to delude ourselves about our abilities right now. I say we go for speed, Mina declared. Turning to Kurai, she laid a hand on his shoulder and said, Sorry, sweetie, but I think Midoriya is right on this one. In this competition, we can't afford to play it safe, Izuku asserted. We should take some risks if we're going to hold on to our headband. I don't know, maybe we should try to play it safe since we'll be on defense, Uraraka pointed out. Maybe our efforts shouldn't be focused on speed so much as making sure we're stable. Kurai mused as everyone waited for him to cast his own vote. After a few moments of quiet thought, he said, Let's follow Midoriya's plan. He's right. We can't afford to play it safe when there won't be any safety for our team in the first place. Team Midoriya! Mina grinned as she put her hand out. Come on, let's do it! Team Midoriya. Kurai agreed as he laid his hand on top of hers. Team Midoriya, Uraraka added, putting her hand on top of Kurai's. Team Midoriya, Izuku stammered as he put his hand on top of the pile. Firming up his chin, he said, Let's go beyond, guys. Plus Ultra!
Okay.
And we're back.
I'm allowed.
Are we breathing?
We're breathing.
Okay, alright. The Bakugo is looking at you with concern.
That's concerning in itself. He's usually mad dogging me.
Mm-hmm. He mad dogs everybody.
Hey, dude.
I was so proud of my daughter this week. She finally said Bakugo, and she was referring to the fish.
Because up until now, he's always been fish, and so now he's Bakugo.
Now, if I ask her where Bakugo is, though, she'll be like fish.
Yes, so she made the connection. We're good. Anyway,
all right.
New chapter.
So, new chapter. So, let's see. So, Maison Lightus, you were right. Kurai did end up in the top 3, even though you guessed initially that he'd be in 5th place. Mm-hmm. So, Lakira, also correct. He ended up in 3rd place. You were right. The reality is that he is too powerful and too skilled not to end up going in the top 3, or at least very close to it. But I think you might have misjudged his level of sentimentality, as you put it, toward Mina. Like I covered in the chapter before, they said if they end up going head to head in the tournaments, like because there's always a combat aspect of the sports festival, even then they won't hold back against each other because they have too much respect for one another to do that to the other person. That would be disrespectful.
That being said, though, they still picked each other in the Cavalry Battle.
Yes, if they had the option, they did want to work together.
Yeah. Which it works.
Yeah. Which and speaking of those lineups, I think I did it. I think I kept some stuff pretty close to the original. Like Todoroki's team hasn't changed at all. Still Yayorozu, Todoroki, Ida, and Kaminari. That's completely unchanged. Deku's team, the roster has been changed by half.
Yeah.
Because Deku and Uraraka are still there.
So now we don't know where's Tokoyami.
We don't know where Tokoyami is.
He's a really strong player.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to really affect the
I remember when he teamed up with them in the original, I was like, that is a really unexpected choice. But then they started showing off what his quirk could do, and I'm like, oh, Deku knows what he's doing.
Yep.
And then Hatsume, they turned her away.
Yeah, so that was surprising because, it's like she's one of those characters where she's kind of annoying, but she's also super cool because she's so smart. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, we'll see. And thankfully, she's got the kind of personality where she'll just kind of shrug it off.
You were kind of worried about how wait, if he turns her down now, is she gonna spite him later on for the hero cosmetics? I don't think she will
she's not
because
that kind of shallow.
No, well, she also just but she's another kind of shallow. If you remember when they walk up to her and her lab blows up on them, she's like, "Sorry, I blew up in your face, but
who are you?
I don't know who you people are.
Yeah.
I totally forgot all your names." Ida's like, "I'm the guy you used as a walking advertisement at the sports festival. Never heard of you."
Yeah, so it's she's so wrapped up in her technology that she's not
She literally tells him the only reason that she wants him around is so she can gain more acclaim.
Yeah, she's not very socially aware, so I feel honestly, it was kind of a rough encounter,
mm-hmm.
but hopefully it seems like I think she'll be okay, because she seems pretty okay. She's pretty confident in who she is, so we don't know where, smart.
So we don't know where Tokoyami is, we don't know where Mei is. Mina left Bakugo, so in the original, Mina was on Bakugo's team. There's a gap there now, so who's he going to get to sub in? Mm-hmm. Or sub in, for lack of a better term.
This guy had this huge roster with points that he was working on for weeks. He was going crazy on it.
I know the point values of each team that gets racked up. I'm not kidding. I carried around a freaking notebook, jotting down, okay, this guy's got this point value, he's got this point value, but I'm going to put him over here instead, so now I got to redo who's got which point value, and
I'm pretty sure you lost some sleep over that one for a little bit.
I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
I remember laying in bed and you're like, well, what if I do this? Or, oh no, but I can't remember how many points this person has. And I'm like, calm down, go to sleep.
So I've got all the calculations down, now I just gotta put it in the freaking story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't lost anything at all up here over it.
No, it's cool. I think you guys will enjoy it. I'm excited for you to see it.
Yeah, because a couple of people said it's an alternate universe is boring if you just keep it the same with just another character in there. So I did try to I think that this is the changes that would have resulted from Kurai's interference, as it were. But I also changed it enough that I think it should generate a new entertainment value for you guys. Because several of the teams will not be the same as they were before. Let's see what I was going to say. And speaking of Bakugo's team, Bakugo has a new problem, even if he doesn't realize it now, is that Kurai knows how to exploit a certain aspect of his quirk.
Because Deku grew up with him, and he knows how his quirk works.
He knows how his quirk works.
And haven't really had, at this point in the anime, we haven't, spoilers if you haven't watched up to the, if you haven't figured this out, but, up until this point in the anime, we didn't know exactly how his quirk worked.
No, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we found out when Deku fights Bakugo during their first training match. Bakugo's since you're such a stalker, you probably know how my quirk works. I secrete nitroglycerin from my hands and make it blow up.
Gotcha. So
Deku,
the audience knows.
Yeah, Deku and Uraraka knew because she was there.
Now Kurai knows he's a big player. And he is also a strategist.
He's very shrewd.
He's a strategist, like Midoriya is. So now you have two strategists on a team.
The difference between
and
them is
they're
that
actually good at working together, which is not common, I feel like, with
But
people.
here's an interesting thing is that Deku, he's exploited Bakugo's temper before. He knows how to do that. I think he would exploit the weaknesses of Bakugo's quirk like Kurai did on accident if he could. The matter of the fact, though, is that Deku does not have a power that allows him to
Do so.
to use Bakugo's power against him. Kurai does. You better believe he's going to use it.
Yeah, so that is, yeah.
So Bakugo has a new problem coming at him, even if he doesn't know it. Because remember, he doesn't know who blew him up on the track.
When you were reading it, I was getting so into it and the planning that when the chapter was over, I was like, what? Oh.
It's like, but we were just about to get to the good parts.
I know. So, yeah, but I feel like that's about all we had.
I think the other
scenes.
the other thing was I actually thought about having Kurai and Ida work together. But the reasons that he gave Midoriya for not joining him in the original pretty much stand the same against Kurai, because it's like they kind of joke about how they were rivals in middle school. They were like academically they were always competing against each other, and Ida usually won that. But now it's kind of but now like it hasn't been said, but I think Ida's like a little maybe I should take this a little more seriously, or he's gonna leave me behind, because ever since I came to UA, Kurai's been rocking it.
And so we know from his personality and from the conversation he has in the original that, you know, he's the kind of person who's going to want to show that he can stand on his own 2 feet and really shine. And so that's, you know, it makes sense that he would still make the same choice that he did before. And the nice thing is they're such good friends that it's not really going to reflect on the relationship, because they can respect that.
No, again, in the original, like once the Cavalry Battle was over, everybody was
fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's cool,
yeah,
cool.
Because everybody involved has the right personalities where they can just say, all right, cool, you made that choice and we'll go with it. So
parting thoughts. I'm interested to see who you guys think is gonna, and I'm interested to see who you guys think is gonna make through to the tournament bracket, and who's gonna end up fighting who. Because there's definitely changes because there's definitely been changes to the roster. Some matches will be the same, but not as many as you might think. So I'm interested to see how people what people can come up with and how they'll react once the actual roster is released, which I think will happen next chapter, if not the one after. But anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks to you guys so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the audio chapter, and I hope we have also comprehensively addressed your comments and concerns. We'll be here for the next one. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
All right.
Stay plus ultra, everybody. And avoid the Rona.